All right, welcome to J.A.I.L episode 3. You got JP, Andre Ignacio, and Les. Happy New Year, fellas. Let me go ahead and jump right into this. We've been getting some feedback from people who've been watching, and they want to hear more about our perspective on relationships and family. Today we have guests. We have my wife, Nacho's girl Janie, and Lisa. Um, and one of the questions that we want to talk about is what are the needs? Like, what do women need from us, in the beginning of our relationship and now? We've all been in a relationship 15, 20 years, and I know the needs changes. So um, let's talk about what are the needs that you ladies need in the beginning of our relationship. So whoever wants to go first.
Well, before we dive in, how about we say what age we were when we first got together, so we know, what that bracket was. You know what I mean?
So go ahead. So you talk. Go ahead. Wait for you guys.
Go ahead, Dre. You go first.
All right. I was 27, I believe, when we got together, because we had Kehlani at 28, and she was born a year into our relationship. So yeah. So I was 26, 27 around there. You were 24, right? 24. Because so I was 26, she was 24, and we got together and we moved in. I asked her to move in pretty quickly, right? I had a phone conversation with a friend of mine, and and he was like recommending that I move forward and move it in, because I never lived with anyone before. And this friend of mine, his name is Jose Pagalon, and and he was like, "Yeah, you should do it. It's pretty cool." I said, "All right, cool." I asked Lisa. Lisa comes up, she moves in, and before we got together, I was kind of like, I was a single guy, like just living in Orange County, doing whatever. And so there was a huge adjustment period that I was unaware of. Had I been mentored in, what that adjustment period was like, JP, like, a little bit smoother. But no, there was a huge adjustment period, like just going from doing whatever you wanted to in your own place, having whatever you wanted in your own place, to like, I think we should have this in here. I think we need to put this there. I think this needs, we need to
wait.
This needs to be new. This needs to be new. Like it was a shock to me.
So go ahead. What did you need from Dre in the beginning of your relationship, Lisa? And
but finish your thought first. Finish your thought.
I needed him to get some furniture. Number one.
Bro, I was on the air mattress, dude. I was like chilling. But what did you need from me at the age of 24 and I was 26? At that time in that age bracket, what was like one of the things that you needed from me in our relationship when we first started?
Probably trust, because I didn't really know him.
Okay. Trust.
We met a while ago, but I didn't really know him.
Trust. Okay.
Maybe like 3-4 months of dating, I kind of moved in. So I guess mostly trust.
You hear that kind of moved in part?
What about now? Like, obviously the trust is there. What do you need from him now? Most importantly.
To help clean the house. I'm just kidding.
Hey, that's what you need. That's what you need. That's good.
But he keeps saying that, now that he has his own place, he don't do what his mama makes him do anymore.
He's waiting for this moment. Yeah, I couldn't wait to run across the couch when I got my own place.
Let it out, Lisa.
Really know.
See, that's her love language, though. Not trying to change the subject, but that's like what she wants, what she needs. That's like her love language.
Yeah. That's
and when we were in our 20s and we first got together, like she said, it was kind of fast. I didn't know how to act, because we were doing everything together. We worked together, we lived together. You know what I mean? We'd go get off of work, come home. I was like, yo, I need a break. Like, you know what I mean? And things got a little crazy for a little bit. And we had to figure it out. Like,
yeah.
Before, remember I said we had Kehlani a year into our relationship. So we had to figure it out fast, like
Yeah.
what's going on, and in that time frame, we were used to like just doing, young people stuff. We would like get a new place after every lease because, just wanted to see a different change of scenery. And now we got this kid coming in. So we were just like, okay, well, now we need to slow down a little bit. So it's kind of like going, from 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. And all of a sudden you got to go from 60 to 0 in 4 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the aspect was for me as far as moving in. If you guys want to jump in right now, feel great.
Janie, what about you? What did you need from Nacho? The biggest thing from back then to now, and like what Dre said, how old were you guys when you guys first got together?
When we first got together, we were young. I was 20 and he was about 19, so kind of fresh out of high school. We met at McDonald's work. But what I needed, we didn't move in together maybe till 8 years down the line.
So
And
what
it
did you need from him?
that's what I wanted to,
Stability.
move in with him, stability, make sure, okay, are you in it for the long haul type of stuff? Because, at that time already we were, together for that long. After work, I was at his parents' house. Then when he would get off of work, he'd be at my parents' house. So the back and forth thing was like, dude, we probably need to get our own place. We're like, almost 30. And so that's what led us to, getting our own apartment. And then moving with him was like, learning the differences between how, I was raised and he was raised, as far as even like, where you leave your bath towels, do you hang them up, do you put your clothes in the hamper? Like, I'm not touching that. That's not how I did it at my house.
It came out because we're two different types of, she's Filipino, I'm Mexican, so like just different, like the way traditions, or you can say like.
Basically, his mom did everything for him, and I'm not about that.
Oh, what?
You nigga with that traditional wife. All right, Nacho. I see you. Machismo. Okay, Nacho. Machismo, Nacho. I see you.
And that's fine because I know that's the culture. That's how they do it. But in my household, it was like, nope. You clean up after your own self. That's your mess. You clean it up. You put that there. You put it back, type of stuff. So
no, but I will clean up after myself. But
what about now? Like, I know, things that have definitely changed. So what's the need now?
And before I'm glad you brought up the cultural difference, because like a lot of times people don't hear that. It's like everybody's raised different. Even the same culture, people are raised differently. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, even in the beginning, it was kind of tough, because even being over the age of 18, he had to be home at a certain time. And I was like over the age of 18 and I'm like, what? So that was a little different. That was something I definitely like deal with. And, we made it work. 20 years down the line, I would say, okay, we're doing something right together. But I mean, now what I would need from him, I think I would need more like communication. Not that he doesn't do it, but like more like attentive listening, like looking at me when I'm talking. I feel like more when I'm venting or when I'm seriously talking, then he'll like look at me. But I think that would be one, maybe humor. He laughs at my jokes and everything, but I feel like as he's gone older, he's a little more serious.
We got to show that. I gotta be serious for my boys. It can't be the jokes, so then I gotta take.
Yeah, and I think that's what changed it all. Honestly, I would say parenthood changed it.
Yeah.
Like a little more stern and strict. But yeah, I mean, that's what I would say from him. Everything else he pretty much does.
Now, parenthood would definitely change you.
What about so what about you, baby? My wife. Well, I was 24.
Yeah, I was 19.
I was 24. She was 19. 5-year difference. We first got together. 2 months within our relationship, I asked her to move in with me.
He kidnapped me, y'all. Stop
she ran away from home. I literally picked her up, got her luggage while her mom and wasn't there.
Yeah.
I kidnapped her.
That's Mexican style right there.
That's
Oh yeah.
Jose. That's a Jose. I know.
That's the way you propose.
so what did you need from me then the most? And now, we've been together for 16 years and parenthood and everything.
Yeah.
So back then, what did you need from me?
I think at that time, I needed to feel or be with someone that made me feel safe and protected. Because I feel like I always looked out for myself, and I never really allowed people to kind of, take on that role. So when you came and you showed me that how you could protect me, I was like, okay, I see you, take that off. So I needed that.
How about now?
Now I just need that constant support because I'm always busy with work and you help me so much with the kids. So you're always just so supportive. So I feel like that's like the only thing I really ask, that you support me and make sure that I'm going really.
Okay. So that being said, what the women needed, gentlemen, what did you guys? What are your thoughts about all this?
I'm glad you asked that question. A lot of times, and I hear this a lot in with different people when they talk about, like the barbershop talk. Like women will say something, but we hear something totally different. So I like to start whenever we have like a conversation. I'll start with like, okay, what I heard you say is, what I mean? And then she'll like elaborate or tell me if I'm wrong or whatever. And so like when she told me that she needs like things around the house, that I'm like, okay, in my mind, we have like a 2-bedroom apartment, so ain't that much that could be done, right? Like, so like I used to like try to do stuff around the house, and then like there would be a complaint about it, and I'd be like, all right, I'll give up, I'm done. Because to me, it's not much you can do because it'd be dirty in 5 minutes because we got 2 kids. But I get what she's saying. She wants the consistency of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we like communicate through our deals. As far as that's concerned, as far as like the need of communication, I think me personally, Lisa, you correct me if I'm wrong, we communicate pretty well, right?
Yes.
We all got that communication. We got that.
How you gonna ask your girl a question and then answer it like communication, right? It's like,
this ain't working.
I have a question for all of us because we're all, like the one thing we have in common with all of our relationship is we're our ethnicity, or
biracial.
So, what experience do you guys have? What things did you guys learn when you first moved in with your significant other that you didn't expect?
On my end, it's because I know in the Filipino culture, you guys they take off the shoes and stuff, and me, I usually walk around with my shoes on, right? And we're living in an apartment. Jenny's like, babe, take your shoes off. I'm like, what? No, I had my shoes on all the time at home. So that's the thing I kind of get used to. And I'm like, no, I'm at home. I'm going to wear my shoes wherever I want. Just take your shoes off. So I'm like, dang, like, what's so big deal with shoes? But there I just had to kind of compromise. And since you're living together, I'm just, okay, whatever. Don't make it a big deal. Just take them off or whatever. So like, that and eating, sometimes when she'll cook rice, she'll like, you want rice? I'm like, no, I'm okay. I don't eat rice with everything. So I'm like, she always make like rice for dinner. Like,
he prejudiced. He only wants that red rice.
That rice is like y'all pork.
No, but like that's the thing. Like where I just had to get used to like her cooking too. Like just the rice part because I wouldn't eat that much rice, and I'm like white rice, So I'm like, I wouldn't eat that much rice at home either. But I was like, okay, like I just had to get used to it. So that's pretty much like I feel that had a kind of thing with her. So.
All right, so I'm black, obviously. Lisa's a Vietnamese, right? So like, I get the rice thing, I get the shoes thing, but like, man, when you go out to eat with her family, they'll ask you 100 times, you want something else? Is that good? Yeah, I got to the point like, hey, look, I dare you to ask me again. I dare you to ask me again.
For Mexicans,
They're very like they want to make sure that you're happy, you're full. I mean, they want to make sure that you're healthy, like the whole nine. Like it was insane. Don't ask me again. Yeah, that was one thing. The food, like the Vietnamese food, is different than other Asian foods for obvious reasons, but it's more noodle and like lettuce and vegetable eccentric. So like you can have like a pork chop like my mom would cook, but then you got like this bush of lettuce around it, and you got like a spring roll instead of an egg roll, and just, other stuff. And it was just, it took some getting used to, but hey, I'm with it now. It's pretty cool. It's a lot cleaner to eat than it is, my natural diet.
Is Vietnamese food spicy too or no?
It depends on what you like, because there's always like a dipping sauce, right? And in the Vietnamese, they use fish sauce, and like they'll put like crushed chili pepper mix in it, and that can get spicy. Leave it straight, it's not spicy at all.
What about you, Les? I know your lady's not here, but what have you experienced?
Oh yeah, for sure. My lady's putting down the kids, so she's helping me out right now with the 3 little ones, so I can jump on and talk with y'all. But if she comes available, she'll jump in. But yeah, I mean, everything you guys are saying definitely we clash on the foods. Like I felt like I introduced her to cornbread, and then she was like, "Oh, we eat this with every meal." I'm like, nah. Cornbread's good, but we don't just like make that every day. Like it ain't just sitting around nowhere. But obviously, it was obviously eating different foods was a lot. And then, like you said, being a biracial relationship, I think it was more so just like the cultures outside of our household, because like we're together, our families are together, we have a good time. Like, and I know that when we got together, when we got married, we went through counseling, and they always told us that you got to be aware that you guys are entering a biracial relationship, and how that impacts my wife may be looked at by like other women, particularly Black women, and like how I may be looked at by other men, particularly like Mexican men, and not really feeling that way growing up in Delano, because half the time I see people, I'm like, we're all the same. Like, look at the 4 of us, like the 4 brothers. Like, I don't see that. But when you go out to the city or other parts, then you kind of experience that, and so you're kind of aware of that. So I think when like you're talking about women needs, they do need that security, but they kind of need that Bonnie and Clyde, us against the world too. Like, like I'm good. Like you're good. Like I'm good at home with you. I'm good outside with you, and it's us. So I think that was like not so much, like I said, within our own families, but as we went out, I always tease her because like when I went to Early Mart, my wife was from Early Mart. Those that know where Early Mart's at, I was like, like we went to school. There's only like 10 brothers in the whole school. Me and Dre, 6 other dudes. So they were like, hey, like, so people that knew us always knew we were cool, but people that don't know us, just being African American, they're just like, they're trying to fill you out, right? Like, what's up? But I think that just took time. And I think for us, it was just about being patient. Like, hey, whatever it is, we can get through it. It just takes time. And then just growing from there as a couple, for sure.
I experienced more hate being in a biracial relationship from my own race than I do like Vietnamese people.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Me personally, it was the language barrier. Because they didn't speak Filipino, and that's all we speak over here. No, I'm just kidding. Her family is her mom speaks nothing but Spanish, right? Very little English. So for me to communicate with her mom, it was hard for me. Like I couldn't do it unless she was around or her brother was around. I can only do so much with sign language, and I can only do so much with sí, no, and poquito.
And that's his language there too.
So I mean that was a learning process. in the beginning of our stage, and as our relationship grew, we kind of knew how to get around that. Basically, I just stayed quiet until someone was around for me to communicate with her. But it was weird at first, but then we just got accustomed to it, and then now it's like the norm now. But I can definitely I can relate to her. I can see why she needed security, because in her family, she was the oldest, so she was protecting her siblings and her mom as well. So she was always the protector, and when I came into her life, she had to open up and allow me to protect her and her family as well too. So um, and the food thing too. I didn't eat beans until like my sophomore year in high school. So that was my first time experiencing Mexican food with beans, and that was at Taco Bell. So I know that wasn't real beans, and so when I first got with her and started eating real Mexican food, I was like, oh, okay, so this is authentic.
He loves my arroz. That's for sure.
I love white rice, but her Spanish rice too, that red rice. I feel like I got to taste that.
Well, I can tell you this, like how machismo nacho that we found out. I know that like getting like going to go visit my wife's family, like they're very traditional, and like when I go there, like even now, like I just sit down like that. I don't do much. My wife is very Americanized, so, and I didn't grow up that way either. Like I didn't grow up like my dad get the big piece of chicken, nobody eat. Like we weren't old school like that. Like, but it's totally different, and I can see how Nacho got hooked on it, because it's like beans and rice is coming over my shoulders, tortillas, you're like 3 sodas in front of you.
Yeah.
Hey, it was kind of funny though. Like I barely experienced this maybe like a year ago. I had to start asking my wife and like friends, like, so I started going over sometimes to my in-laws and so forth for like breakfast. But I didn't know, like growing up in Delano, I just assumed like with breakfast you got orange juice. But I didn't know my Latino culture be drinking Coke, like soda with the breakfast. I'm like, hey, why y'all still got them Cokes? It's 8:30 in the morning. Who drinking soda with a breakfast? They're like, yeah, that's how they do it. That's how we do it. Is it true, Nacho?
That's true.
Nacho, is it true? Soda with breakfast?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they told me. I started asking people. I'm like, hey, what happened to the orange juice? They're like, nah, we drink soda. I'm like, bro, this is
lightweight stuff.
This is not even 12. It's not even noon. I can't have a soda. I can't have a Pepsi.
Yeah, at my table, it's either like Pepsi or whatever, or like lemonade or something. Like once in a while, they go, oh, I want juice. Everybody turns their head like, the hell you want juice?
I guess it's like, I mean, those are things I do enjoy. Like, being with my wife 15 years now, it's like I'm still learning new things about the culture, about us, and growing together.
Mm-hmm.
So what Dre kind of already elaborate on this. He blames me. But what was your guys' experience when you first moved in with your girls? Like, I mean, like what was the hardest thing, right? What was the hardest thing that, besides, like, everything we're talking about is like cool stuff, food and stuff, but we all struggle. We all struggled with it at some point. What was the hardest thing that you guys?
Well, let me piggyback on that question. Cause I know me and my wife, we didn't move in together until we got married. Mm-hmm. So we were like very traditional. Like we waited, and then once we got married, we moved in. We moved together and moved in, got a house. I know you guys are sharing a little bit that you guys moved in together before getting married. So when you talk about that, I was gonna ask you as well, like, how does that come up in the conversation? Like, how do you express that? Like, I always see a movie, like, do you slide her a key? Or
That's a good question.
How does that happen?
With us, well, me and Janie, it's because we were talking about it, or like, I know she's getting tired of me, like, getting like a curfew at my house. So like,
oh man,
yeah, well, yeah.
Hold on.
My parents' house.
Nacho, clarify. Curfew. Is this like
Yeah, well, my parents will give me a curfew. Like they're like, "Hey, be home by this time." I'm like,
Hey,
"You
what
living under
time? What
my
time did
roof?"
they say?
Nacho, I need to know Nacho. Like back in the day when they had the cell phones, it was free after 9. Like, what was your curfew? Was it like 9?
Well, but I'm not lying though. My parents said, "Be home by 10." I'm like, "All right."
Oh, okay. 10. That's close. That's
They're
good.
like, "Be home by 10." I'm like, "Oh man!" Like I was getting tired of it too. You know, of course I was a grown man. I'm like, damn, like, and I was going out with Janie or like, so sometimes I kind of cut dates down too. Sometimes like, damn. So then me and her like, hey, I think we might have to just get our own apartment and this and that. So like when push came to shove, and then I got my BA because my dad goes, the only way you're gonna move out, like this is like real talk. Like my dad goes, you're not gonna move out till you at least graduate from college. Like I want to see that diploma, and once you see that, then you know what I mean, I'll let you know you can do whatever you want. So I'm like,
Hey,
so
Nacho, a quick question. Is that like a culture thing where like the dad just says like you can't move out? You know what I mean? Versus like you just moving out. Is that like a
well, my parents are like real old fashioned. Like my parents are old fashioned, and they're like, we want you to do things a certain way. Like we don't want you like to how do you say like vary off from what we want you to do, because like he always preached like I want you guys to do better. I want you guys to be educated. Like he always preached that to me and my siblings and stuff like that. So that's why I was like, okay, like all right, I'll listen. Like I had to set the example too. To everybody else down my siblings. So I was like, I just gotta just do what they say and that's it. And then once I got my degree, I go, here, Dad, look. And he goes, all right. And I go, and that's when I kind of broke it down to my parents. Go, me and Janie are gonna, once we graduate, I go, I want to get an apartment with me and Janie. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, you even said like once I get my diploma, whatever, my BA, like you'll be with it. He says, okay, all right, like yeah, I understand. I'm a man of my word, and I'm gonna go by it. It's all right. So, and then that's how we end up getting an apartment, and then well, it was kind of like self adjustment, like everybody, like all three of us. I never lived with the girl before anyway, so I was like, oh dang, like you know how you watch those movies? I'm like, are they gonna leave a bra everywhere or underwear or whatever? Like, so I'm like, you're gonna see like the menstrual thing everywhere. I don't know what you're gonna see. So I was like, I just had to like brace myself, but I mean, it just worked out. We just had to like, like how we said, we communicated and just like adjust to each other's living styles, because we both came from different backgrounds, and her being Filipino, me being Mexican, and just kind of just had to like integrate it together. So, and now we're together for 20 years and 3 kids in, and so see how. And then,
For the record, I am not that messy to leave my menstrual stuff around. So let's just.
Hey, I'm not cutting that off.
hey, don't edit that part. So keep that in
I'm not editing that part. That's funny. That's funny how you mentioned like the Mexican culture. Like, I have nothing but respect, obviously, for my wife and her culture, and her mom. The reason why we moved in together is because I didn't like what she was going through at her home, what my wife was going through. Moving in with another girl was like, it is a big deal, but that wasn't my first time. Like, I told Dre, what I told him, because I had experience with it already, moving in with the girl. Like when I was in the Navy, I lived with someone for over a year and a half, which was a bad relationship, but I kind of already, had experience with it. So when I got with my wife and I saw the things that was going on in the house, nothing crazy, it's just that I'm so independent. So like, I was a grown man, she was a grown woman. So, and she was still kind of being treated, you know, like like a little girl, right? So, even though she did everything around the house, clean, took care of the kids, everything, she was still, in my opinion, she wasn't getting treated the way how I thought she should have been getting treated. So after 2 months in, I was just like, just move in with me, let's just be us. Like Les, what you said, the whole me against the world thing. And we had that mentality since the beginning. You know what I'm saying? Like our thing is, if it's as long as we're good, then everyone else is good. It was us against the world. So, you know, she was kind of like, well, I can't. My mom's gonna say no, and I was like, no, just pack your stuff and let's go. What time does your mom work? I'll come over when she's at work. Have your stuff ready, and we'll go. And at that time, I was living with my brother. My brother was like, yeah, she wants to move in there. That's cool. So yeah, that was our story. It was just and it was hard, especially for her family, because they depended on her so much, and they still do. But back then, it was different, even more. And she didn't talk to her mom for half a year. And I told her, I was like, look, I've seen this before. Like, family members, they'll separate, but what heals everything, a lot of things, is time. And after like 6 months in, they finally started talking, and the rest is history. But yeah, that was our story. I when she said I kidnapped her, I really did kidnap her. Like, I was like, what time does your mom? She's at work.
You sure did.
Yeah, she was like, her mom working in the fields, and I was like, okay, so she shouldn't be home around 11. Let me go at 11, have your stuff ready. And she left a note, just like how it is in the movie. She left a note. I left to JP. Here's why, blah blah, and then yeah, that was it. That was the rest is history. So that was the reason why we got together.
You busted what the Mexicans do. They just steal their girl like that. Just like a Mexican.
His name is Jose.
My name is Jose. So yeah, no, I mean it's everything happens for a reason. So we all learn from it and grow from it.
So was it a smoother transition because you already had that previous experience?
For me, I mean, for me, it was more smooth because, like, what Nacho was talking about, like, I already understood all that, right? For her, it was different. One, she's moving into a different culture, from Hispanic to Filipino. Two, the way how she left wasn't, the greatest way. So, it to me, it was more, to me, it was like, okay, we together. You want to stay up? Like, we could do whatever we want now. You know what I'm saying? So it was more smooth for me, but I know it was harder on her, and it took time for her to kind of get used to things. So, but for me, it was smooth with me.
And my transition was tough in a way because like I said earlier, we did everything pretty quickly. And like for like, I don't know, like the first 6 months, 8 months, I didn't even meet her dad. You know what I mean? So like we had, sometimes I'd be driving a car around, you know what I mean? And I was like, dude, I gotta, he has to know who I am because I got pulled over and the registration and look at me, they're gonna be like, hey, your name ain't, you know what I mean? He has a being name, right? And I'd be locked up quick. So eventually we made that meeting happen. And that's one of the things I remember I kept asking her about. And I saw as far as like the day to day, we worked together, we came home together. Like I remember just thinking like, man, I need some time to myself, right? And I, like we would rarely do things separate. So that was something I had to learn and like had to get with, like, and it took a while. It took a while for me to learn and how to get that because I struggled with that. Once I got that though, like I mean, like you fast forward, everything's fun now. But like there was a big time mental struggle with that, like within my own head. It wasn't easy. Being able to like just you can leave the house, you just leave the house, right? Or like you go somewhere, you just go somewhere. You do something, you just do something. And that had been me for so long. Yeah, like I said, we moved together until we were like 20. She was 24, I was 26. So I mean, 26 years of just doing you, and all of a sudden, you got somebody else you got to think about. Every decision you make, you got to run it by them. I mean, and not just like if you're single, you're thinking when you hear that, you think you got to check in. But when you're in a relationship that you've been in for so long, you don't think of it as checking in. You think of it as, okay, we're a team and we got to go ahead and communicate this.
I'm glad
because there's something that we got to communicate to achieve a certain goal. And it could be something as small as like, okay, if you're going to be out and about, then I got to get groceries today so we can have dinner tomorrow, whatever. You got to communicate that stuff, right? And that's where I I had to learn like my mentality had to change from a single man to like being in a committed relationship and trying to make things work. And that happened pretty quickly because we had a daughter our first year in a relationship. You know what I mean? So, which you do the math, it means we got pregnant in like 2 months in.
No, we did
3
not.
months in, right? Like, hey. So, we got to do it quick.
Ladies, check your birth control. No, I'm kidding.
I think she slipped a pill out or something like that. But that was my transition. But you fast forward to now, I mean, right now it's smooth sailing. Like we said earlier, all of us have been together 10 plus years, and it's like second nature. It's like dribbling a basketball. It's like for us that we all play ball here, so like it's like something you just do, right? You're on the court, you dribble basketball. You're in a relationship, you just make it work. You communicate, and that's what I would say would be the transition from being 26 to 38. That's me.
I'm glad you said the whole checking in thing, because I don't know if you guys like. I hear the younger crowd, right, and when they talk about their problems, my thing is like, how can you just didn't say anything? You know what I'm saying? Why don't you just tell her? So you came home a little late because you did this. Like, why don't you just text her, right? Oh, I'm not trying to check in. Like, it's not even about the whole check-in thing. Like, like the younger people, like they still have that, oh, she has you on check mentality.
Mhm.
Like, oh, I'm not independent. Like it's not being on check. It's just communicating. Like this whole argument you guys have for 2 weeks, if you would just text her, like, right? Like it's not. There's no like you're right, Dre. Like when you get into a relationship, it's not about being on check. It's just about communicating and being mature enough to to realize that and to communicate. And I think a lot of men, it's hard for them to take that pride away. Like, no, she's not going to have me on check. I still can do whatever I want when I want. I don't have to tell her right away. And I think that's from the men perspective. Like that's the young bucks. It's hard for them to take that pride out. In my opinion.
And on a lady's perspective, it's not even about asking for permission or can I go do this and that. Again, it's communicating well. Let's see, what do we got going on? Do we have this? Are the funds there? It's more like that. It's not more like, no, you can, or yes, you can. And,
Yeah, especially when you have children. Like,
when children's involved, it changes the whole dynamics.
Yeah, you got to really communicate because, like I said earlier, even today, like I use Google Calendar a lot, right? I use Google Calendar. Mm-hmm. I'll add Lisa on the invite so she knows I got appointments coming up. Today I had a physical therapy appointment I had to book. Yeah, I booked it yesterday for today, right? And like I sent her the invite real quick and immediately said, "You got an appointment tomorrow?" I was like, "Yeah." And the reminder went off. Like, you got an appointment in an hour. I'm like, okay, yeah. So like we're just communicating. So like we got to maneuver that. Somebody has to pick up Jelani from school. Somebody do this, that, because I got an appointment. Or whatever the case is, it's not checking in, young people. It's communicating so you can achieve the goals of the day. Like, you got to do that. I used to think the same way, but you grow out of it.
Let me ask you this, Les, because since you said you guys first moved in when you got married, there can be an argument. People say, oh, you guys need to move in first so you can see how it is before you get married. Right? You always hear that argument. So,
drive the car before you buy
it. So, what was your experience? Not moving in with Veronica until you guys move in. Like, how did you guys have to adapt and all that stuff?
I think it helped. Obviously that we moved out. Both of us kind of moved out when we were 18. Like we went to college, so like we kind of left. We left the nest a little in that regard. So just moving out in general is kind of hard, right? So when you just move out on your own, like you said, that freedom of being out, of doing things, realizing how late you can stay, your pride. Then when we both finished college, we came back to D-Town, Delano. Shout out to all my people that still live in Delano, Nacho. When we moved back to Delano, we were both just working and so forth. And
she's not gonna claim Delano. She's from Earlymore.
Oh, she's from early March. She's from early. We obviously our relationship grew. Our relationship grew into me proposing, and like I said, we waited till we got married to move together. But even with all that experience, like you said, there's always gonna be bumps in the roads in any relationship, and just filling each other out. And like I think at the end of the day, you're right. Communication is key. And it's okay to be a little Mondilone at times. It's okay, people. Mondilone is not a bad thing. I know it's got a negative stigma, but Mondi's not a bad thing. But it's really called respect. Like you can't disrespect your girl. You can't disrespect yourself, the relationship, your kids. I think people lose that, and they don't give that to the relationship, and so they don't give the relationship a chance. Because I'm like, dude, you never respected the relationship, trying to do your own thing. Didn't listening, like that don't work in the workplace. That don't work anywhere. So like how could you come with that philosophy and try to bring that into a relationship? And so I think for us, we always kind of kept that in mind. Like I said, we went to counseling before we got married, and I think that's great. We talk about it now. Like I think people always are scared of counseling, like a negative stigma. I'm like, we should go to counseling all the time, like before we got problems.
Right, I agree with that.
That's like a therapy for people to communicate and so forth. But like for us, it's always been about like, having respect. Like, yeah, like respect the budget, respect what we do. If you have respect for the person, then you'll communicate. You'll talk to them. You'll be concerned why they feel a certain way, why things are going a certain way. But over time, I think people lose that. So they don't respect the relationship and they go look for something else, which, was not always the best decision. So that's been big for us. And I know like it sounds like a simple answer, but it's still years of experience to learning that.
Yeah.
Because you don't realize all the time how you're disrespecting a relationship, how you had a long day, so you just come home and lounge because you're tired, not asking the other person how their day was because you're like, man, I'm done. And like I can't come home and disrespect my house that way. I ain't checking on nobody because I'm in my mode, right? So you gotta kind of check yourself sometimes at the door, and do what's best for relationship overall. But respect, I've learned a lot, and I think you gain the most respect. This may sound wrong, but I gained the most respect when my wife had obviously my first child. So I was like, whoa, like this woman brought my child into this world, and it was just kind of like, man, like everything changed for us. Like everything changed. Like, just her being pregnant, going through the whole process, having a child, like you're like, this is a miracle. Like you're like walking out of the room, like you just respect the relationship even more. My wife, my kids, and everything we do. You kind of just always keep that in mind.
I think you level up as a couple. There are different levels, right? You first get together. I don't know what the hell you guys are doing. You guys move in. That's a different level. You leveled up. You guys get married or have kids. Like each major milestone is like a different level because it's a different experience, different type of respect, like you said. And there's really no way to learn that instead of just going through it. You know what I'm saying? That's why I didn't tell you, Dre, about moving in with, what the experience was, because whatever I told you, you were going to learn on your own anyway. So I let you learn the way out.
You better be glad this relationship worked out. I'll be at your front door.
You're taking that air mattress and you'll be out, huh, Dre?
Exactly. Me and my air mattress.
That's good. I'm glad you mentioned that too, Les, about the respecting, because there's still some days where, I take, if I'm frustrated, I'll take it out on everyone else, and then I have to, put myself on check. Like, hey, why am I taking it out on them? And I think we all do that. It's just hard, sometimes when you're frustrated, you just let things out, and then if you don't catch it, I know your girls will catch it. I mean, my girl does. My girl's like, hey, don't be yelling. Like, hey.
My girl catches it all the time, so.
So that's cool. Well, what advice do you guys have for? It just popped in my head. Like, what main advice besides communication? That's all we're talking about. Like, what's the main advice you would give someone right now in their early 20s? that's going through the same thing you guys went through, like what would you guys tell them?
I would. I'm gonna just say this in general. And when you're young, you know what I mean, like that because I keep hearing a lot of people break up because they're not that spark anymore, right? So in the beginning, it's called infatuation. It's not love. If you look up the definition of infatuation, it's exactly what you feel in the beginning of every relationship. Me personally, I think love is built over time, right? When you're in a relationship and like you guys have been in long relationships, obviously, and you know, like myself, like when you look back on what you guys built over the last 10, 15 years, it's like you guard it with your life. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't want to break it or lose it for anything or anyone, right? So when you have that, like that to me is when like you're like, okay, that's love, right? In the beginning, it's just infatuation. That spark is gonna go. You know what I mean? But when you wake up and you smell that morning breath and you still laying there, you know what I mean? Or like whatever it is, like love is built. It's not the beginning stages. That's my thing to the young guys out there right now.
I'm sorry, but we don't even talk in the morning until
At all.
we brush our
At all. No.
Right.
And now, we do that now.
Hey, so whose morning brother you smiling then?
Y'all just look at each other like, what's up?
Right. This the brother now. You be like, yo, look.
That's a good point. What about you guys? Les, Nacho, what would you guys? What advice?
Probably more like a piggyback off of Dre too. Like, just you know, like you said, that everybody has those big bright eyes, those hearts, you know, that come in there once they see that girl. Like, oh, that's the one, that's the one. But I know, you know, that spark's gonna go, but you're gonna have to, you know, once that spark goes, is she gonna be really the one? You know, like, is she gonna be in the trenches with you? You know, from day one. You know, like you can't just go off of that, you know, like the infatuation part. You know, you just gotta be able to know, like, is she gonna be the one that I want to spend the rest of my life with? Is she gonna be like my rock? Is she gonna be there, like, you know, like day one, like just to be able to have that long lasting relationship, you know? So that's kind of my advice.
Yeah, I guess my advice would be just relationships are work. Like, let's call it what it is, man. Like, I have kids and it's work. And it's the greatest. You may bump heads and have those rough times, but you wouldn't trade it for anything else. Like it's the one thing I look forward to working at every single day. Like you said, the morning breath. We thankful every morning we should wake up though, right? Even though we're morning breath.
Yeah, right.
every day I get to learn something new about my wife. I tease her. I'm like, it's like 50 first dates. I tell her like every day I'm trying something else new. I'm like every day, like just every day. And I guess I say work, but it's not work. But I would say work to someone that's getting in a relationship, because I think they think that lovely feeling that Dre's talking about, like you're gonna ride that for the whole time, and they forget to water that plant, and they forget that they used to bring flowers and roses. You forget that you used to open the door. You know, I mean, you forget that sparkle you had in your eye. That you know, and I think that happens over time. Lack of respect for relationship, and you just thinking that this fuzzy feeling's gonna last forever, and that's why you see certain people bounce from relationship because they just like that honeymoon stage, whatever, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I would encourage you to work at it, man, because the longevity, the long road, you know, like us having 10, 15, 20 years in the gang, like my wife's like, you guys are my homies, man, you know, but your wife's your best friend. She's going to be there. She's going to be there in grief and hard times and family. Like you said, Bonnie and Clyde. She's the mother of my children, and God willing, you know, as the Lord tarries for future, you know, side by side. And that is special. Like I'll tell young people, like, I understand being young, ambitious, and have your dreams and build, but you ain't gonna you can't be in the club at 35, 40 lying about your age, trying to talk to the girls.
You know what I'm saying?
like it sounds cool, but like you gotta have a rock behind you, you know. Mm-hmm. I trip out like a Snoop, you know, L Cool J. These dudes been, you know, R&B, hip hop, rap forever. Same lady, you know, for like all these years, right? And it's like you gotta have that, and to have that is truly special. But you got to work at it too, man. Just like anything else. Like you ain't gonna stay in shape unless you go to the gym. Your relationship ain't gonna grow unless you put time into it. So young people, young couples, don't be scared to work. Because I mean, I remember like thinking like, man, if we ever argue, that's horrible. If a door ever slams, I would ask people like, hey man, like what happens? And I remember my dad telling me, slam doors, you better get over that, son. Like, you guys, you're good. You know, it's just, you're going to be trying to figure each other out, relationships, and you keep that all within your house and you can just continue to grow. And like I said, it's like a garden. My dad would always tell me it's a garden, man. Just keep the weeds away, keep watering the plants. It's special, you know, it's special. So when you see couples, Nacho, 20 years, like you respect that and honor that. And you know, that's really cool. You know, 20 years, 3 kids, you know what I mean? Meeting in McDonald's, his whole love story, like those love stories, as you get older, you kind of get it. Lifetime, Netflix clicks a little bit more now, you know. My whole thing is just like work, man. But like Kobe always says, like the dream is the process. Like that's what I'm saying. Like I work, but I enjoy working at it. Like I tell my wife, like I enjoy working at it every single day. Like I enjoy building us. Like this is us. Like, you know, don't watch that show. It's a tearjerker. but like you just continue to work at that. But I think people just lose that when I see kids. Like they just, like when you're in high school, love and everything, it just comes easy, right? And young people are scared of work. Sometimes in their own ambition, their own struggles. If it don't come easy, what do a lot of people do? They quit. Mm-hmm. And like, dude, if you were just stuck with it, I got a lot of people I know just said I should have just stuck with her. Because they look on down the road and said, man, I was like, yeah, like it wasn't her, it wasn't you. It's just you guys got to work together at it. You know what I mean? And have that understanding. So my thing, long story short, work at it, people, work at it. It's definitely worth it. The journey's worth it.
I think, you know, to add on to all those things you guys said, 'cause that's definitely all needed. From my personal experience, like you said less earlier with the whole Bonnie and Clyde thing, my wife and I, we've had this since I guess when we moved in 2 months into our relationship. Our theme is as long as we have each other, we can get through anything, right? And that means a lot of things, like keep the relationship private, right? Like if you have problems, don't let the whole world know, you know, like, because you're going to hear all these stuff and it's going to mess up with your head, you know. Pride is a big thing, right? But if you go talk to the wrong people, your pride is going to overtake the right decision, and, you know. So I tell the young couples, like, when you guys have problems, keep it within you guys. Communicate within you guys, right? Don't go talk to your mom. Don't go talk to your cousin, brother, right? They're not there every second. You know what I'm saying? Communicate between you guys figure it out, and then you guys have to meet halfway. Whatever you guys agree on, that's what you guys go with, but meet halfway. It can't always be, it's my way. It can't always be your way, because through time, eventually you're going to be like, man, I'm tired of doing things your way. You know what I'm saying? Why do you always have, you know, and then it's going to be, that's a whole different argument. But if you guys built from the beginning that, hey, you know what, let's do everything, let's meet everything halfway, you know, which means sometimes I'm going to have to be wrong. Sometimes she's going to have to be wrong, which is fine. Because I think a lot of people too, it's human nature to feel like you have to be right. Like it's hard to admit that you're wrong. But when you're in a relationship, there's going to be many times where you're like, oh, okay, I'm wrong. Right. And it's hard to do, especially as men, you know, it's hard to admit it when you're wrong. So, you know, it's sacrifice, it's hard work. It's knowing that, like you said, you know, the spark changes, and you have to accept that, but keep things private. You know, it's you against the world, and meet halfway. That would be my advice.
All right. So, hey, one thing we almost forgot to talk about is what are the guys' needs when it comes to relationships. I'm not sure if we elaborate with the ladies as far as what they need, like on a day-to-day basis from us. Did we talk about that?
I don't think so.
Like what, you know, pushes the thing daily forward? I mean, we can talk about that in another episode. I'm just asking, do we elaborate on that or no? Before we talk about ours.
I know what my wife said now on a day-to-day basis. She just said no support.
Because so we did talk about it. Okay.
Yeah. And he's supporting them and stuff like that. And, you know, it's harder as you get kids. Y'all know that, you know what I'm saying? And you guys need to support each other on the things, you know, sometimes you're going to have all your kids and your wife can't help you, or vice versa. You know, sometimes you have things and your wife has to take care of all the kids. And if you guys can communicate and support each other, it'll work out. But if it's always like, why is the kids always with me? You know, why is the kids always with me type of conversation, then that's going to be a bad argument. So again, to me, it's just about meeting halfway again and showing support and all that stuff.
Sure, I agree.
So do you guys want to talk about what guys, or the show's almost been an hour? It's been about 50 minutes. So
well, that's what I was thinking. Like we can, and you can edit this out or whatever if you want, but like we can elaborate more on that, but that might be like a whole nother hour conversation.
Yeah, no. I agree. Let's talk about that next episode. Let's talk about.
I think we should run it back.
Should we do the love language test on air like next time, like the guys and girls, and then talk about that?
Yeah, because I need to know more about that. I'm not really too sure about that test.
Okay, yeah. There's an online test you can take, right? Like we did it, and you answer like a series of questions, like 10, 15 questions. And it'll spit out what your love language is. And then it'll give you like a description of what it is and what you need from your partner.
Shoot me that link, and then I will put that link in the description of this video. So whoever wants to, you know, do the test, it'll be in the description.
Okay, so like you mean like in the description for the next episode, right?
Or I can put it this episode and next episode. It doesn't.
Okay, cool. Yeah. That way, okay, cool. That's what you're saying. Yeah. We're not about to talk about it right now.
No, because I don't know what it is. Like I heard you guys talking about earlier, but I wasn't really sure because I've never taken that. I never taken that test.
I'm just curious. I hit my head, hit a pillow. I'm gone.
All right. So you guys want to do the quick homie review and then cut this episode short? What did you guys watch since the last time we talked?
I don't know if you guys caught Cobra Kai season 3. So it was pretty.
Yeah, we caught that.
So I was like, can't wait for season 4.
I love the Cobra Kai series. Like season 3 was no different. Liked it a lot. I do wish Miguel was a little bit more healthier throughout the season. Like, because I wish he had like his full strength, not full strength, but stronger than what he was when that spoiler alert
from the accident,
that battle happened. I wish like that was my pretty much only gripe of the whole entire deal. Was that?
And I love the flashbacks too to all the Karate Kid movies. Like you kind of got like, I remember that part. Like kind of all those flashbacks they had too.
Or like bringing the old guys back, or ladies too. Bringing them back into the show was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I actually watched part 1, 2, and 3 Karate Kid like a week or 2 weeks ago. So when they were doing those flashbacks and introducing, so I was like, oh, okay, yeah. It made more sense to me when they were doing those flashbacks, and because I just watched the movie, so it was. I like that as well too. I didn't really watch any movies during New Year's. I watched everything during Christmas. But Cobra Kai was like the only thing I kind of watched.
Yeah, no, I watch my regular shows. Nacho Jane know what I'm talking about.
Love, what is it? Love After Lockup. Right. On Friday nights, guys, check it out.
But Power, the season finale of Power just happened, and that was really good. You haven't been watching Power? Catch up on that. It's really good. Like, I give it a 4.5 out of 5.
I need to jump on that. I haven't watched one episode ever of Power.
I love it. Look at it.
Hey, that's the one with 50 Cent, right? That one.
Yeah. It's not like that garbage. What's the one with dude from?
I know what you mean.
Empire. Yeah, it ain't like Empire.
Empire, yeah.
It's like real. It's like it's pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't watch too many movies either. I watched them all during Christmas break.
Yeah. All right, fellas. Well, shoot, if you guys don't want to talk about anything else, we'll cut this short. It's been about an hour now, so try to keep it under 60 minutes. But all right, I'll let Dre do the whole subscribe thing. Go ahead, Dre, do your thing. You do it every week.
Don't forget to like, comment, and share. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell button. And I want to thank the ladies for being with us on this show. Before we head out, you'll be with us on more shows.
For sure, for sure. Next time we'll talk about the men's side.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll talk about discuss the men's needs. What goes on in our heads when we have arguments and conversations. Really funny, really good.
Send me that link. We'll do the test. Send me that.
All right,
link.
for sure.
Yeah, send me that link too, Dre.
I'm gonna just put it in the group chat.
All right. Hey, should we print out results and are we gonna discuss it too next time or what?
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Yeah, you can print it out because it's they usually give you like a decent explanation, and you can be like, oh yeah, that is me, or nah, they're way off. You know, you can do something. We can do stuff like that.
That's interesting. All right, man. Well, thank you, everyone. If you guys are watching or listening, appreciate it. Like what Dre said, subscribe, hit that like button, notification, and we appreciate everyone's support. So, all right, fellas. Until next time.
All right, man.
All right. See ya.